What's up, everyone? Ryan Larkin back with another edition of the Daily Fantasy Racing Quick Picks on the Mayo Media Network. Took a week off last week, had some stuff I had to handle at the house, so wasn't able to get a video out. Sorry about that, guys, but we're back this week with a fantastic race at Texas to cover and to give you some DraftKings plays for. So we'll jump right into the video as always. I appreciate you guys checking out. If you can, real quick, like the video, subscribe to the Mayo Media Network, and then leave a comment. Let us know what you think about your plays. Texas Motor Speedway, 1.5 mile intermediate track, one of the most difficult tracks to pass on, probably in the history of NASCAR. So track position is going to be vital. We're going to see teams really working pit strategy to try to get their guys out front. And it appears that the field is extremely close. So from 1st to 25th seems like as close as I can remember any race being, which is really cool to an extent, but can make it really hard to predict. So should be a fun race, an exciting race. Could be a tilting race if things get crazy. So it should be an interesting one for sure. We did have a race here earlier this year with this new car. That was the All-Star race. We saw tire issues. We saw a couple of drivers had tire issues early. Kyle Busch had the most notable one. He was leading the first 47 laps before he had tire failure. Ross Chastain plowed into the back of him, had that big spectacular crash there, took out Chase Elliott as well. Those were probably the top 3 cars in that race, at least what it appeared early. I believe Kyle Larson had tire failure that took him out as well. So we had a lot of weirdness in that race. And then we, of course, ended with Ryan Blaney winning the All-Star race with his window net down and all types of weird shenanigans. So there is some information we can take from that race. The biggest one being passing the leader is super, super difficult. So we're going to love, whenever we see our guys up front, if we see our guy in the lead, we're going to expect they're going to dominate for a while. So that's really, really cool. Passing, as I said, will be difficult though. So playing place differential drivers could be tricky. But if they can just flip strategy, use pit calls to get themselves towards the front half of the field, they can maintain track position. I believe if we look back at the All-Star race, the All-Star Open actually with Corey LaJoie, I can't remember if he took 2 tires or just flat out stayed out, but it seemed like he was able to get to the front and then basically just stayed there. He was able to stay at the front in All-Star Open for the most part, even on old tires, because quite frankly, the track position was so much more important. So that's one of the things that's going to make this slate tricky. We're going to struggle to really be able to pinpoint who the best players are going to be because it can be anyone. And as far as dominators, it can be a list of about 16 or 18 guys. At any point, we can see the Chase Elliott's or the Kyle Larsons from Hendrick leading. We can see any of the Joe Gibbs guys like Hamlin and Kyle Busch. They can lead. Ross Chastain, guys like that. Tyler Reddick's one that comes to mind. So just within so many different organizations and cars and teams, it doesn't feel like there's enough gap to really say, hey, this guy looks like he could be the guy. I think it's a pretty wide open race in that respect. And then I left out actually some Fords, which was, it's not a good idea for me, considering that we have 2 Fords on the front row. Brett Keselowski starting first and Joey Logano starting second. So the Fords look strong even this week. So a lot of viable plays. And honestly, bit of a crapshoot to figure out who those guys are. So with that said, let me get into my plays. As always, I'm going to give you my dominator / race winner of the week, my favorite tournament play, my favorite value play, and then my fade of the week. So let's start with the dominator / race winner. I'm going to go with Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain starts 12th at 9,200, so very affordable 9,200, which is awesome. That makes me more comfortable playing him because, like I said, there's a lot of drivers that could lead this race, and you're not killing your salary situation with him. He was extremely fast in the All-Star race, very, very fast, marching towards the front before he got into that wreck with Kyle Busch. I think he might have been the guy to win. If you look at his results at Vegas, he was super fast there. He was super fast at Charlotte, probably the best car at Charlotte. All-Star race, he was extremely fast. On the mile and a half, he's been great. Kansas, he finished about 7th a couple weeks ago, so still decent speed on the mile and a half in recent results. And I just think he's a guy that's going to contend for fast laps led, and potentially win this race. I think he'll have a good showing, and he looked decent overall in practice and everything. So I really like Ross Chastain. If you're looking for to kind of get some early dominator points, though, you will want to attack that front row. As I mentioned, passing leader was incredibly difficult in the All-Star race. So Brad Keselowski starting on pole has a very, very realistic shot at leading the first 30, 40, 50 laps. That's 100% possible. He looked fast in practice, so his car looks to be legit speed-wise, and he's super cheap. So you can play him as a value play, and if he can just lead 30, 40 laps and finish top 10, 12, he's probably going to pay off his price, which is nice. And then Joe Logano, probably has the best car here based off of practice. Things can change in the day and the field's so close that if he's just a little off tomorrow, it obviously can result in him running 15th instead of winning the race. But he was the fastest car in practice, and then he followed that up by qualifying second. I believe he's a legit threat to win and dominate. So I definitely like mixing in Joey Logano there. So those are a few options for that dominator play or race winner. Next up, tournament play of the week. I'm going with Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman was the driver I saw being the second fastest in practice behind Joey Logano. He looked really, really, really fast in terms of single car speed or single lap speed, I should say. And he looked strong in 5-lap average as well. He starts 17th, so he's going to give us some place differential points, which is probably the reason I like him the most. I think he's a guy that can win this race, and then he's going to give us place differential points even if he doesn't, if he can just finish top 5. If you look at his teammates, William Byron starting 3rd, Chase Elliott starting 6th. I think Larson's 8th or 9th. So all of them are inside the top 10. He's starting 17th. He's in a little bit better position. That's it, with qualifying results. And then 8,400 is a great price tag. That's middle of the range there. It's right on what your average salary should be. And I think he's a guy that can go out there and potentially win this race. He led 107 laps at Kansas, ended up finishing 4th in our last mile and a half. And like I said, he was really, really fast in practice. So I would not be shocked to see him at the front late in this race contending for the race win. Next up, value play. Justin Haley starting 31st at 5,700. I love that he's 5,700 because I'm going to want to attack a lot of these 84 to 94, 96 $1,000 drivers. So Bowman at 84, Ross Chastain 92, Tyler Reddick maybe at 94. A lot of guys in that range. Maybe some of the ones that give us place differential. Kyle Busch is a guy that gives us good place differential. Christopher Bell. So in order to afford more of those guys in my lineup, I want to kind of pay down with one value play, and that's Justin Haley at 5,700. Starting 31st, you see a guy who's consistently running 18th to 22nd most races. And I always try to do simple math when I'm looking at value plays. If he can get to 19th, which is I think is roughly what his upside should be considered, as long as it's not a high carnage race. If he's finishing 19th, that's 24 points for DFS, and then you got 12 place average points. That's 36 points at 5,700. That would be the ideal scenario. If he ends up 23rd, he's still going to score you well at 5,700, and I don't think there's many in his range that are going to do much better than him points-wise. So I think he's a really safe play, a really, really good play, and he has decent upside. So if he could just have a nice, clean race like he does typically almost every single week, I think he can be the perfect value play to round out a lineup. And then lastly, my favorite of the week, a couple of guys that are going to see super low ownership. So I wanted to give you 2 plays just because I feel like when I give you a play that's only going to be 5% owned, we're not exactly doing enough. But so many people are in play this week that I found it hard to say, hey, don't play Kyle Larson or don't play Austin Cindric, because theoretically, I think they all have shots to pay off. So I went with 2 guys that I think have the hardest path to working out, and that's Austin Dillon and Michael McDowell. So Austin Dillon starting 7th, Michael McDowell starting 5th. They're really at the peak of what their finishing upside should be. If one of them are up there contending for a top 3 finish, I'd be shocked. Not impossible, especially for Austin Dillon, but it's going to come more in like a pit strategy situation where Austin Dillon won here in 2020 because of pit strategy, right? That's the only way it's probably going to happen. Whereas there's about 10 to 15 guys that I think are theoretically faster and better and will be better and tough to contend with. So seeing Austin Dillon pay off his price starting 7th seems very unlikely, and McDowell starting 5th is going to be difficult as well. So they may have good runs. They may finish 11th or something, which would be a good day for both of them, but I just don't think they have the DFS upside that we want, so I'm looking to fade those guys. That'll do it for us. I appreciate you guys checking out the video. Again, as I said in the beginning, please like the video, subscribe to the Mayo Media Network, and leave a comment. Let us know who your picks are and what you think of mine. For my content, you can catch me at Larkin8 on Twitter. I pretty much post everything I do there. I got a bunch of random things that I do, so check that stuff out. And then for my most of my content's at dailyfanracing.com, though. So Cup, Xfinity, trucks, F1, got everything covered there, full breakdowns, rankings, projections, podcast, about to go do an hour podcast now for the Cup race. So a lot of stuff that we do over there, and we try to give you the best quality stuff on the site. So be sure to check that out as well. Appreciate you checking out the video, and good luck this weekend.